Hello, friends.
Hi, everyone.
Many of you have noticed that there are some posts going around about the Hustle Humbly community.
That's right. Secret community.
Secret community. Well, this is a new thing that we have just opened up. And we started by offering it first to our listeners who own the email templates.
Right.
We wanted to see if there was a demand for a Hustle Humbly community and if there would be value in it. And turns out there is. So we're so excited because the doors will be opening very soon for you to join in on our community. The doors will open July 11th.
That's right.
And they'll be open for 1 week.
1 week.
1 week only
Mark
for you
your
to
calendars.
come join. Yeah, mark your calendars.
So if you don't own email templates or you opted not to join us in the beginning, you might want to join us now.
Yes.
Here are some of the things that we're going to do there in the community.
Tell me.
We are going to do live Q&As. We've already done one, and it was so fun.
I really enjoyed it.
So on Zoom, face-to-face, we can see our sweet listeners, and they can ask questions directly to us. So we'll do live Q&As. We are going to do some live podcast recordings, so you guys can see behind the scenes and get early access to a podcast recording. Also, very exciting, we are doing a book club.
Yeah, I can't wait. In the Hustle Humbly community.
Yep, and our very first book is going to be Atomic Habits. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm jumping into that community, start reading Atomic Habits now. And then on July 11th, you can join with us, and we're going to do that book club in August.
Perfect.
It's going to be so fun.
I've just enjoyed the community because people always say they feel like they know us.
Right.
But we don't really get to know our listeners. And
No.
we've met so many of our listeners and gotten to put faces with names.
Yes.
It's a real community. It's not just one-sided.
It's doing what it's supposed to do.
I know. I love it.
It really is a place where we want to be, you know, a safe space where you can ask questions, meet other listeners who
will celebrate you, celebrate your
like-minded.
wins.
Right. So we're just really excited to have more of you able to join us there. So it's coming July 11th.
Be on the lookout. We can't wait to have you in the new Hustle Humbly community.
Y'all come join us.
Bye.
Bye.
You attend your home inspections? I'm like, oh my gosh, every agent should attend their home inspections.
You're like, oh, shiny roof. No.
They just show up at the home inspection and are like, oh, this is the house you're buying? And I'm like, you should have seen the other ones. This is great.
But because I kicked a rat, right back in the attic. So she wasn't ready for that, and I wasn't either.
Hi, y'all. Welcome to Hustle Humbly. It's Alyssa and Katie, and we are two top producing realtors in the Baton Rouge market.
We work for two different companies where we should be competitors, but we have chosen community over competition.
The goal of our podcast is to encourage you to find your own way in business.
So stop comparing yourself and start embracing your strengths.
Okay. Hi, Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
Hi, Whit.
Hello, guys.
It's episode 152.
Yay, we finally have a home inspector.
We finally have a home inspector. We've
I don't know how we've made it this long.
we brought him into our lair. I was like, welcome to our lair.
So what's funny is we're doing the flip report now. And it's perfect timing because Whit is the inspector that did my inspection on my other flip.
Right.
That my Hispanic contractor, who does not speak the best English, thought he needed to do everything on the inspection report, not just what I had circled.
So we're still mad at Whit about that driveway crack.
So we're going to avoid putting anything in a report this time. But last time I didn't have Whit look at the house before because I knew I was doing everything.
Oh.
This time I just had him go do a quick run through.
Are we basically do? This is it. You're doing
you're
doing it.
The flip report.
He didn't even tell us who he is. You're already like into it.
Well, I was gonna tell Whit.
Keep going, please.
So Whit went to this one.
Okay.
And did a little TikTok inspection for me.
Oh.
It was perfect. I said, can we do all inspections this way? Because I told him I don't really need anything formal because it's just for me before I buy it to make sure everything's fine.
Okay, so you went to TikTok to watch the inspection?
Yeah,
basically,
send it
yeah.
to me.
But TikTok's really good for like a lot of short clips.
Right,
so I don't know
true.
if you use it much.
I've seen it.
If you want to record like 5-second clips over and over again and stitch into a video without any real work, TikTok's the one to do it with.
Well, this is very interesting.
Yeah, it's
Have you
really good.
ever done a TikTok inspection for anyone else?
No, that was the first one.
That was the first
I
time.
have to tell you, it was excellent. It was just what I needed. I didn't have to like scroll through pages because it's for myself. So it's
Did you post it to the public?
No, I didn't. I just sent it to
But
Alyssa.
maybe you should.
Well, it's one of those things we're not really
supposed
to
to.
do that way. I mean,
Okay.
you can't charge somebody for an inspection and provide them with that low level of service.
Wait, you could do both though,
it was
right?
what I asked for.
Yeah, is what she wanted.
You didn't make a report at all.
No.
No,
Got it,
there was
got
no
it.
report.
No
Got it.
report.
I just was like, hey, if there's anything that is alarming that I need to know about before I purchase.
Right, okay.
That's where we're trapped in our legal ramifications.
Right,
of
that's fair. I
inspections,
mean, you got to
unfortunately.
follow the rules.
Yeah. But I enjoyed it. It was exactly what I needed for my
That sounds efficient.
for my inspection.
Right up her alley.
Yeah,
Very efficient.
Correct. It would be the investor special inspection would be the best way to do it.
Oh,
Yes.
I like it.
Yes, it was very helpful.
Okay.
So quick update on the flip before we jump into our interview.
I'll let you introduce yourself then.
Sure.
Yes. I did have the AC inspection done, and I was worried about that because one of the big problems with this house was that the AC vents were like condensating so bad. The ceilings were soft. I wasn't really sure what was going on.
Okay.
So we had the AC company come out. The units are newer and they're nice. So I was hoping I didn't have to replace the unit, which I don't.
Okay.
There was a wire that had been weed eated at some point that was the AC would kick on, but it wasn't really registering temperature.
Ah, thermostat wire. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was happening. And then he also said this house is so old and the unit was just like slightly too big for the house. I mean, he said it's not like one that he would declare as too big.
Right.
But he said the ductwork that it is connected to is very small, like older ductwork. So to handle the airflow.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I have to remove all the ceilings in the house anyway
Okay.
because of the condensation from the air vents.
Okay.
But it works out because the quote to I need to replace the air ducts.
Okay.
So the quote to replace the air ducts came in much lower because he can do it with the ceilings removed.
Oh, so he doesn't have to go in the
He
attic.
doesn't
There's not a
have
lot
to
of
go
room
in
in
the
that
attic.
attic.
It is
Okay.
a
Yeah, tight.
tight,
Oh.
small. You would have to like
Really
I don't
work
even
at
know
it?
how they would really do it. I mean, so the AC company was very pleased that we're removing
Oh,
the
great.
ceilings. So he also said if there was a way to add more square footage, like that would be great, but I know that's not really feasible. And I said, well,
The AC guy wanted you to add a few square feet.
yeah.
Okay.
I said there is a huge storage room
Uh-huh.
that backs up to the living room
Okay.
where the laundry used to be.
Uh-huh.
The owners before me moved the laundry into the kitchen, which I didn't like, but I wasn't sure what to do about it.
Okay.
But my contractor was like, we can put a door from your living room
Into
to
the
connect
laundry.
to the storage room.
Mm-hmm.
And when they redo all the duct work, we'll just add a duct in that room. It's a big storage room.
Oh.
So it would probably add like 100 square feet,
Wow.
That's a
which is
idea.
good for me.
Yeah.
How many square feet did the house start off at?
Below 1,700, which I was sad about.
Okay.
Because, my other flip house was 2,100 square feet.
Right. Okay.
So I was kind of like, this is a better layout. Because the other flip house was a 2-bedroom. This one's a 3-bedroom plus an office. And the office could be a 4th because it has a window and a closet.
Okay.
It's just a little small, but it'd be a great nursery or something.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing.
Okay,
We
great.
are going to make the storage room. There's going to be a door from the living room
Mm-hmm.
that opens up into the
Laundry.
Yeah, into the laundry.
Okay.
But there's also a door in the laundry that you can get to from the carport.
Right.
So we're going to put like a mud bench in there and
Got it.
like you can come in there and like put all your things down.
right.
And it'll be cute.
That's
Like a
good
real
idea.
mud area. I love it.
Yeah.
So it'll be bigger. It'll help the AC.
Everything works.
Everything is good.
Wow. I love it when a plan comes together.
I have one more side note on it.
Tell us now. Don't make us wait.
I was finishing the inspection time frame before I officially bought. And I'm like sitting in the driveway going, am I supposed to buy this house?
Yeah.
There's no tree. Like normally I have some sort of sign.
You're like, this
That's
is the
like-
house.
That's like, this house is for you, Alyssa. So I'm actually in the driveway feeling nervous because I'm about to pull the trigger on this
Right.
house. And I'm praying. I'm
Right.
just like thinking, I'm praying. I'm like, God, there's no tree. Like there has to be something that lets me know you want me to do this. I always get nervous before a big purchase. And then I hear Alyssa?
Oh,
And I turn around.
it's the office manager from my office.
And I had just had margaritas with them
Right.
the Friday before at Katie's office. They had a
Yes.
little margarita get together, and I went. And I was like, Celia? And she was like, oh my gosh, are you buying this house? And I said, I think I am. She said, I live right next door. Oh my gosh, this is like the answer to my prayers.
You were like, you're the answer to
I said,
mine.
you're the answer to my prayer, because I was just asking for a sign. And she said, this house has been such a headache because it has not been taken care of. The tenants have been
Rough.
awful. The yard is so overgrown. Everything has just been, she said, this house has really just been hurting us living here.
She talked about, they were thinking about moving.
They were going to move because of this house.
So you saved him.
I'm going to save them. And she
Right.
was like, anything you need help with. I said, well, here's what I need help with. You tell me what color to paint the exterior.
I'm sure she was
the
thrilled.
trim, the brick, the poles and the carpet, everything. You tell me what you want the outside of this house to look like, because I don't care and I don't want to pick it out.
Right.
So she is sending me colors this week.
Love it. Celia, sent directly from the Lord.
Sent from the Lord to tell me to buy this house.
So funny. Alyssa called me. She's like, you're not going to believe this. I was sitting in the driveway and I'm trying
I'm
to
like
decide.
praying.
I'm praying. I'm like, God, send me a sign. And then she said, and then I heard, Alyssa? And she says, and it was Celia from your office. I said, are you telling me that Celia is God?
Yep, I am. She was my son.
Amazing.
Just tapped on the shoulder for me.
That's right. Just
it
a
was-
little,
it was
little nudge.
weird.
That's so weird.
And I thought, even if I break even, I will have helped the neighborhood.
They'll be so happy.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Okay.
Do. The flip report's over.
Oh my gosh, Whit, please, for the love of everything, tell us who you are. And thank you for sitting through all that.
No,
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. So I'm Whit Green. I obviously own Whit Green Home Inspections, cleverly named.
Cleverly.
Clever. It took a while to come up with that one. Been a home inspector for a little over 4 years in the Baton Rouge area. Quickly grown to being too busy. Hired my first inspector last year with no plans to actually hire an inspector. And don't plan on hiring anymore if I can help it.
It'll just be the two of you.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a good
he
one.
he was a long experienced inspector. He was inspecting down in New Orleans for years. So
Okay.
and he actually worked for me about 20 years ago.
Oh,
in a
wow.
Different profession.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. So I even went to his wedding 20 something years ago.
What?
So I've known him a long time. So it was a great hire, and I don't think I could find somebody equivalent again.
Okay.
but
He's a one of a kind.
one of
He
a kind.
is.
All right.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it about me. I just inspect all the time.
But I want to hear your background. Okay, so I listened to whose podcast was that? Where the two of you, Alyssa and what
We
you
were
guys?
the software system I use, Spectora, which is the best home inspection software system in my opinion.
Yeah.
We did a podcast of theirs
Okay.
together, just talking about agent and
It was
inspector.
great. I watched it. So
Okay.
it was on
It was on
video.
YouTube,
It
yeah.
was.
I watched it. So it was really good. But what I learned about, I mean, you've done inspections for me and you do a wonderful job as an inspector, but I learned a lot about your background. So kind of tell us what you did before and how you ended up being a home inspector.
Gotcha. So for me, it was kind of a weird approach to being a home inspector, which I've learned from other home inspectors, especially through that podcast, how they got into it.
Yeah.
And it's not the normal way a lot of people think of. You work in the trades and then boom, you're an inspector. That actually has a high failure rate a lot of times.
Oh, really?
And
Because they know too much?
No, it's not really about knowing too much. It's more about not understanding what a home inspector is and the skills that are required to be successful in it, which is a lot of communication skills,
Soft
a lot
skills.
of writing skills, a lot of people skills, emotional intelligence, all those things.
Yep.
And that's lacks in the trades where you
That
get to
is
call
true.
people stupid the whole day.
Right,
So
right.
it's just a
Can't do
different
that.
approach. And
Yeah.
I've worked some in there as well, so I'm familiar with both. But for me, I worked a long time in retail management, large big box stores, managed multiple in the state. I had 140 employees at one
Will
point.
you tell us what big box you
Sure,
were
it
at?
was Barnes & Noble College.
Oh, okay.
So it was at LSU on campus, and then I had an LSU Alexandria store.
Okay.
It was a great experience for a long time, and then I had a awful boss
Yeah.
for years that just made everything just
Yeah.
absolutely
Well, you know, I was in retail management before I got my license. So we have that in common. And
Yeah.
I was at the Old Navy on Segan when it was huge.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was
It was
really a
busy.
big box.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh my gosh, so busy. And that'll wear you down.
Oh, it'll wear you down, and for the treatment, the pay is just
Yeah.
not equivalent.
Yeah.
So I always had other stuff going at the same time. I flipped houses for a long time. I started in, I think 2003 was the first house we bought and flipped. I was doing like $2,000 budgets for a full remodel where I would paint the whole thing, landlord special, get a sprayer, and
You would do it.
I did all the work.
All the work.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I probably flipped, I think around 16 or 17 homes over the
Wow.
years. And I got substantially better over the years.
Yeah.
The good thing for me is I really enjoy learning how to do something and learn how to do it right, reading the manufacturer's instructions and saying, this is how you install this siding, and not just learning it the
Making
improper
it up
way.
as you go.
Yeah. And a lot of guys learn the wrong way in the trades over the years because they're taught by the guy who's been doing it.
Right.
And it works, it looks fine, but it's not correct.
Okay.
So that's a lot of what we find. So I've done pretty much everything except for a air conditioner install. I've installed mini splits, but I've never installed a full system.
The whole thing.
I've
Okay.
done duct work. I've done whatever. I've done roofs and slabs and framing
Wow.
and everything you can imagine. I've done add-ons, other stuff.
Wow.
So there's nothing that's like unfamiliar for me.
Okay.
Professionally, I mostly did custom closets for some years,
Oh.
build cabinets,
Okay.
some furniture, things like that. I did not enjoy that, and it actually ruined my love of woodworking a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Doing that, but it's how it goes.
Okay.
And then anyway, I became a real estate agent
Okay,
to help with my flips.
Oh, okay.
I never really wanted to be a real estate agent. It wasn't like a dream of mine.
But are you just saying you just didn't want to pay a real estate agent? Just say it. Just
No,
say it.
I'll be honest with you, it wasn't about paying. So, because I still, even when I had my license, I let my agent list the houses for me.
Oh.
It was more about, hey, I want to go look at 16 $60,000 houses this weekend. Does that sound fun to you?
No.
it
No, I
sounds
don't
awful.
wanna help you.
It's absolutely
Your
awful.
agent
Okay.
probably really appreciates that.
My agent actually is my broker now, so
Oh,
he
okay,
was
yeah.
much
He's
appreciative
like,
of me
yes,
getting my
you
license.
do the legwork on the front end.
Correct.
Well, then you can just go on your own time and look
Right.
at these $60,000 homes and
Yeah, but anyway, I ended up getting a few buyers just
Mm-hmm.
from friends. Hey, can you sell me a house or whatever? And I went through some inspections and was underwhelmed, just absolutely underwhelmed because I didn't really pay for inspections on my properties.
Oh. Yeah.
And I didn't have a whole lot of respect for the industry. Sorry.
That's okay.
But I've actually met a lot of great inspectors since. I've networked and all that
Right.
stuff, but I did not have great experience with my buyers, and it
Okay.
kind of made me look into it. I'm like, man, this seems like something that is underserved.
Okay.
you're like, I could do this
I
better.
could do it better, yeah.
Okay, I love it.
I had such a restriction on me at my old company on social media, on
Mm-hmm.
what software we used, on whatever, and I'm like, I can be free and do the best of everything,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and change how I want to change and make everything work perfect. And it was so like exhilarating to like start something new. Like real estate, it's hard to be your own thing because
Yeah.
you got to go under a broker and follow their system, and it's one of the few things you can jump in and do it exactly the way you want to do
Right.
it.
So you were like, I'm going to start from the bottom and
Oh,
make it
yeah.
exactly how I want it to be.
Exactly. And that's where I got in. Speaking of my software that we did the podcast for, as I went through a bunch of software because I hated the reports I got.
Yes.
They were PDFs. They were so hard to read. And I'm like, what is this?
Right.
I'm having to print a page and rescan it to send it over to somebody. And it was like, it was
And
just
I
a horrible
really like
experience.
your reports, how they look and how easy they are.
Oh, there's several companies that have come up with good stuff now. They're kind of following
Yeah,
that
sure.
trend. I mean, technology takes a minute.
How did you feel about the training, like becoming a home inspector? And
It's inadequate.
Okay.
It's similar to just like when I became an agent. You
Mm-hmm.
get it done. You know a little bit, but you're not ready to work.
Right.
You think you are. I had the great fortune of we're required to do 10 inspections with a home inspector that's a trainer. And actually, my other inspector, Lewis, does that for the state. now.
Okay.
And we actually partnered up. We loved each other. He was 76 years old,
Right.
and he knew he was on his way out.
Yeah.
Technology had passed him by. He
Right.
didn't know how to use a thermal camera or drones or anything
Right.
else. So he wanted to partner with somebody that could kind of carry him for a few more years.
Uh-huh.
So it worked great. I got a lot of just expert training in terms of
That's
like
good.
inspection, but he was an old grump and didn't want to change his ways. So
Right.
it was just a perfect match, and I love him to death. He's 80 something now. He's still an old grump, but I love him.
But he's fully retired.
He's fully retired,
Okay. Oh, so that's good. So you did you take over like his book of business, or how did that?
There's no real book of business as a home inspector because you
Why
guys
not?
can refer whoever you want to refer.
Right.
I did get a lot of introductions, and a lot of those agents still
Yeah.
do send me business, but it's not really like
do you have like a database?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
So I have all the agents that I've worked with, which I think I'm in 400 range now. But you have about 50 to 60 that send all the work to you.
Right.
you know?
Well, to be fair,
That's a lot.
20%
Even
of
50 to
agents are
60.
doing 80% of the work. So
Right.
I mean, you don't need, if you have 50 producing agents, it's probably all you can handle, right?
Right, absolutely. And I think my top 10 send me like 30 or 40% of the business of my business.
That makes sense. Okay, I love that you're so tech savvy. And I'll tell you what was the first thing, because, I've been doing this 16 years, longer than you were obviously an inspector. So I've had my inspectors over the years. I always refer 3 because I don't want to, that's the one thing that I don't want a client to be like, well, you told me just to use this person and then it went wrong. And anyway, so I always refer my 3, they're good, whatever. And then I remember you must have come to an inspection for a buyer because of the robot that goes under the house.
Oh, yeah.
The pier and beam robot. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then it just sort of, in my mind, you were like, well, if you're getting a pier and beam inspection, like a house with a pier and beam, we should call Whit because he's got this robot. It's going to go under. So that's sort of like the first thing for me with you that I was like, oh, and then just everything that you do is very tech savvy.
Well, if you can't, so many inspectors will fill a report with disclaimers. Could not access everything under the house or could not access this part of the roof. And you're like, well, if I can't get there, maybe my robot can. Or if I can't see this around the chimney on this steep roof, I can send my drone. So like, I feel like if there's a problem, you find a way to figure out how you can best inspect that issue.
And a lot of guys don't want to go into that because there's limitations. A robot's not going to see what I see when I crawl. And I do crawl when I can, but there's sometimes a whole half of the house you can't get to. So instead of saying inaccessible and checking a box, you can at least get video and see what it's like. And I've been able to work with foundation companies and for mold companies, getting in areas for them so they can quote properly. So it's been really good in general.
Do you find that other local inspectors or just inspectors in general in your network, are they starting to pick up on that and do that more?
I know one inspector in New Orleans, he bought a robot and the problem is the guy that was making them for a long time had a relocation. He didn't make them for like 2 years. And there's some other kind of substandard products out there that aren't very good that people are using, but the guy that makes the best one that I use, he didn't make them for a while, so he's just now getting back to it. And they're expensive; they're like $3,500, so it's not.
It's a real investment.
It's
in
an
your
investment,
business,
right? And if a lot of inspectors work for a company, and they don't make great money, so at that point they're not going to spend that kind of money on something,
right?
So it's kind of like working for a broker. If you're an inspector that works for a company, they get a cut of your inspections.
And it's all varies. There's no industry standard.
Yeah.
I mean, whereas, as an agent, you have the ability to kind of shop yourself around. Almost every broker will hire you up to a point. You can check commissions. You really don't have that ability as an inspector. Somebody's got to have an opening for you to begin with.
Right. You take what you can get if you're trying to get on a company.
Right.
Okay. Tell us, because we want to come at it from the angle of most of our listeners are obviously agents.
Right.
Was it helpful that you were an agent before you were an inspector, and how did it help? Like, how did that help your inspecting business?
So I think it was super helpful. I think not just obviously networking wise. I mean, of course, I met a lot of people, but for me, it was like understanding what it takes on the other side when you have to take that report and read it and figure out what the heck they're even trying to say. How you're having to communicate with contractors, the seller, the buyer, the listing agent. You're having to send this to everybody. So everybody has to look at this report. Everybody has to be able to understand it. And it has to be written in a way that a contractor is not going to call you an idiot because it's too simple.
Right.
So it's a very difficult process, I think, to get your language down to where it's understandable to all parties involved without being too technical and not technical enough. And we have to ride the legal wave of over-explaining or under-explaining, et cetera. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into there. So for me, being on that side and understanding what a repair request looks like, sending it for your client, it really was helpful for designing the way I report things. And then just the basic, if you know everybody's job, it just makes your job easier. And that's
right.
You guys have to know all your affiliates. You have to know what the title company's doing. You have to know what your lender's doing, your inspector. And if you don't, you're really doing a disservice to your clients. And I always say that goes into what I call an underrepresented client. I have agents that I work with that just do not understand the process, and they're not helping their client the way they should be. I mean, at the end of the day, the commission's really good on a sale. You guys should be doing a really good job for your client.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the number one thing. We're all trying to make sure this client's the best represented we can. And if you do it as a whole team, it just makes it so much better.
It breaks my heart whenever I post something on Instagram about being at a home inspection, and then the influx of agents that are like, you attend your home inspections? I'm like, oh my gosh, every agent should attend their home inspections.
Okay, well, let's ask Whit about that. What is the percentage of agents that...
It's It's
come?
high. I mean, I'd say 80+% come to inspections. What I will say is the highest volume agents, they come to the inspections.
Isn't that interesting? The ones
The
that I would say are the
busiest
busiest.
The busiest ones attend.
Now, I mean, I'm not going to say they come right at the beginning.
Yeah.
They might miss a little bit, or there's times where they have to send a substitute or whatever.
Right.
But, you know, like Alyssa has Whitney, very rarely does Whitney come to an inspection unless it's her own sale.
Yeah.
It's usually Alyssa. She's going to be there. And because there's so much information to glean from it in terms of, one, you're managing those buyers because sometimes they bring the two dads, the grandfather and the brother that's in construction. And there's some amount of that's great because they all want what's best for that buyer. They're all looking out for them. I understand it. But at the end of the day, I have to get through my stuff. And then we have to explain it to them. And they have to understand the limitations of a home inspection as well.
Yeah. How do you handle that when the buyer brings the whole entourage?
I usually,
like the tough dad. How do you handle the tough dad?
I usually can win them over just once they understand that you actually know what you're doing.
Yeah.
There is, just like agents, there's home inspectors that don't know what they're doing. So we have to fight that stereotype to begin with, because if you look at any comment section on YouTube or TikTok or whatever about a real estate transaction, they're either talking bad about agents, they're talking bad about inspectors, or whatever, because there are a lot of issues that come up that are done by poorly trained people. So you have to win them over with your knowledge first.
Yeah.
When they're talking to you about something, you got to step up one level above where they are on flashing or whatever and explain to them something they don't understand. And then they're like, oh, okay, this guy's got it.
Yeah.
And that's so true, even with like our new agents. You know, you have to just take the authority in the transaction and explain to the dad or the mom. And that's the hard thing too, is that as agents, we have shown all the houses, so we saw the other options.
Right.
They just show up at the home inspection and are like, oh, this is the house you're buying?
Well,
and I'm like, you should have seen the other ones. This is
30
great.
years ago, I paid $110,000 for a 3,000 square foot house. This is ridiculous.
Well, they think they're there to tear the house apart and make this punch list, if you will, of everything that they see wrong. And that's just not the point. But again, as an agent, you really have to insert yourself in that scenario and be like, this is why Whit, the inspector, is good. We know he has all of these tools and he's done all these inspections for me. You kind of have to like give him a stamp of approval. You know, don't just let him run wild. The dad run wild in the house and, you know, making all the lists. And I think that's why Alyssa's method is really good, where she kind of almost pushes the buyer not to be there in the beginning. Like, let the inspector get the brunt of the work out of the way before someone's over their shoulder asking a bunch of questions or, you know. Do you ask? I think you do. I've had inspectors who always ask, is there anything you're concerned about? Do you ask buyers that?
So normally that's when I first introduce myself to them. I say, hey, look, I'm going to check everything. Was there something you saw that you're worried about? Because a lot of times they're worried about like little drywall cracks or things like that are very minor issues. And they're sitting there stressing over them. So I'm like, let me get this out of the way so they can feel good. Now they can go back to picking out their colors and measuring for fridges and couches and stuff like that. But there's always like a sticking issue for a lot of people where they're either worried about, and sometimes it's stuff that we can't even check. I'm really worried about the plumbing under the ground. Like, well, that's got to be a sewer scope, you know, something that I'm going to check today. So just getting down to the bottom of what concerns them, because you have to figure out what the client is concerned with, and you have to figure out what kind of personality they are. Some of them don't want to hear anything I have to say. They just like, I will get the report, Alyssa will handle it. I don't care. And then some of them are like, I want to know every last detail of this house. Tell me the story from beginning to end, and I want to know it. And I'm fine either way. I have to figure out what they want first.
What kind of person they are.
Hey, Alyssa.
Hey, Katie.
What do we mention almost every episode?
Email templates.
You're right, we sure do. And after every time we mention an email template, do you know what we get?
Emails asking if they can have copies of the email template.
Can you send me a copy of that template? I've never had one like that. That sounds great. And you know what the good news is?
What?
You can get all of our email templates from our course, Email Templates 101. Tell the people about it.
Our course has all of the email templates you would need to send to your buyers and your sellers and your clients that are buying and selling at the same time.
Exactly.
To get through every step of the transaction and giving them information that they need for where they are in the transaction.
It's great because you never forget to tell them something.
Yes, and we've already done all the work for you.
Yeah.
We wrote them and you can personalize them.
Yes.
And just feel organized knowing that you have all the information where it needs to be.
And if you purchase Email Templates 101, you do get lifetime access. So occasionally we like to go in and make updates based on the market, or if we find a new best practice, and we put that right into the template and you get that updated straight away.
It just goes straight to your course.
Yep. Right. It's just there.
amazing.
It's
It's just
already in
there.
there.
It's
It's just
just
already
there.
in there. You don't even have to worry about it. We'll
That's
send
wonderful.
you an email and we'll say updated.
That's great. Where can they find these email templates?
You can find the email templates at emailtemplates101.com.
Emailtemplates101.com.
Yes, head over for reviews and all of the specifics.
Wonderful.
Okay, enjoy.
So when you're working with all these different realtors, because we're all so different, what are some things that make your job easier? Like, what are things that agents can do that help?
Well, first of all, it's always scheduling. If you have an inspector that's busy, getting to understand how their scheduling works, how they like to get scheduled. Some people like text, some people like email. I have online scheduling, whatever it is. And I do it all. So I have different agents that do it different ways. And
What do you prefer
so
if you got to choose?
I like the way Alyssa does it's really good. She'll send me, I have this house, this is the size, because the size matters. You can't just say what's your next slot, because I don't know.
Right.
If it's 4,000 square feet or if it's 1,000 square feet, it's a different time slot.
Yeah.
So this is the house. And with her schedule, she'll always say, I can do Tuesday morning, Thursday afternoon, or Friday morning. What of these works for you? That's the easiest way for me to fit it to where it's best. But a lot of people just text me, hey, what's your next opening? Denham Springs, 1,900 square feet slab.
Yeah.
That's fine too.
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
works.
really that picky.
You just need the information.
Correct. I need the information more than like, hey, what's your next opening? Because that doesn't tell me enough.
Makes
so
sense.
it stops the back and forth, and y'all are busy, so you don't answer for an hour, and then other slots fill up in that time. So
Right.
it's just easier to get it all done.
Okay.
And then as far as setting expectations for the client, that's the first thing for you guys is understanding that an inspection is not a everything. It's a visual only inspection. We're not an AC guy. We're not a foundation guy. We should know a lot about all those things, but there's limitations to a home inspection. And when y'all start them with the expectation of what they're going to get, that really helps us a lot.
Yeah.
Because when they come into a first home inspection, they don't know anything about it. They think it's going to be this exhaustive, technically, engineer type inspection, and it's just not going to be that
They're
thing.
like, you don't know what's in this wall?
Right.
Like,
Right.
No.
So
sure don't.
there's limitations. So once you start with there and then past the inspection, it's really about you understand the report, and you don't need us to necessarily discuss everything with them, because at some point as an agent, you have to understand what a GFCI is and what's the fix for that.
Yeah.
And what are all the things, because if you're not learning those things along the way, then again, you're doing a disservice to your client.
Well, if you don't show up to the inspection, you'll never learn it.
Correct. And if you don't have an inspector that's willing to sit down with you and teach you those things, then that's a problem as well. I mean, everybody's new at some point. You have to learn a ton of stuff as an agent.
Oh, I still ask a million questions during a home
know.
inspection.
Mhm.
I mean,
And
I've been doing them forever.
You can't know it all. And absolutely
No.
not. But the basics of a home inspection, it's one of those things where once you master that, it makes the whole process less stressful for you. You're like, oh, I know what this is going to cost us. We can ask for this much money or whatever. And once you've handled it a bunch, it's easier. But if you don't ask those questions and you kind of bury your head, like, what do my clients want? What do you want to ask for?
Right.
And you don't have any input in it, it really is messing you up.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else an agent should do for you?
No, I mean, that's really about it.
That's
I mean,
it.
And as far as when a complaint comes up, which does happen from time to time, understanding, hey, let me see if this is a legitimate complaint or not before we even bother. Because I've had stuff from, hey, my AC broke. I'm like, yeah, it did. And, that's stuff, everything that's equipment is going to break in your house.
Right.
That's the guarantee I will make you today.
They're like, but you did this inspection 45 days
Yes.
ago, and you didn't know it was going to go out
Exactly.
in 45 days? You don't know
Right.
that?
It's just like, I didn't know I was going to catch a cold in 45 days. Like,
Right.
how?
So some
you
people
can't
will
predict it.
throw that right on to us because you're the one that's going to get the first call.
Oh,
we
yeah.
know that. You're going to get the call first. And I'm fine dealing with those things or
Yeah.
talking to them. But just understanding, not just trying to immediately shift it over
Right.
and be like,
Right.
oh, you need to ask him.
Yeah.
And be like, well,
Not my problem.
Things break. We had it serviced. We had it cleaned. The AC guy looked at it. It was
Right.
fine. It broke. I'm sorry.
This is the point when I just say, I'm sorry this happened to you. Like,
Yeah.
the houses,
And
this is what happens.
I have to step back and remember that they're going through a stressful time.
Yeah.
They just spent so much money. They spent money on me, the appraiser, the
Right.
closing, the moving costs. I mean, their pocketbook has just been throwing out
Oh,
money.
yeah.
So I get it.
I have a story. I had a client who
I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. They were an old client. I'd sold them a house. Then they were ready to move up. We sell their house. They're buying a new house. We go to this house in an older neighborhood, and it's on a slab, and it has kind of like a laminate wood floor in the dining room. And it's got all those dark, like on the seams, it has all this dark staining. And I'm like, okay, I'm like, Katie is saying water has been in this room.
Right.
For sure. I don't know if it was on top of the floor, under the floor. I don't have a clue. I'm just telling you, when the inspector comes, water has been on this floor at some point. So they were very mindful to get the inspector. He got out his moisture meter and he read everything seems fine and normal. Check everything. The kitchen was adjacent. All right, fine. They get into the house, and sure enough, there was this slow leak into like the slab from the pipe that had just been leaked. And they had this pet who was peeing in the house literally while we were there. So the inspector was like, well, I mean, it could just be that the pet, this is the room where the pet pees. We don't know. You don't know. So sure enough, there's this slow leak, which of course insurance doesn't take care of because it's a long-term thing. There was mold all in the cabinets of the kitchen, and the sellers had put like fresh shelf paper in like all the cabinets. So then there was like, then they had to pursue like a fraud situation. I don't think it was like ongoing. Like this has been a couple of years. But the point is, like, even when the inspectors turned on to an issue, like you can't see in a wall, see in a wall. Like there's no way to know. And so
especially if it's been covered.
Yeah, and that was a really hard one for me because I felt really bad. They basically had to renovate the whole kitchen because they had to tear out a lot of stuff. It was just really rough. And I mean, all I can do is say, I'm sorry this happened to you. Like, call you.
I will say, dark spots on wood floors are my biggest because I don't like when you can't explain something or you don't know.
Well, we had a bad one recently at one of your houses. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they did have to, we just told them what they were going to have to do, and they did. They ripped up their floors, they resealed their slabs, but
that one was easier because it was wet at the time of the inspection. So we knew.
It's hard when it's like everything's dry, but there's these dark spots, and it's the unknown vague things that drive me crazy and make me feel the most nervous because it's one thing if it's something that you just know how to address it, but with the spots on the floors, there's so many different things that it could be or that you could do, and how far do you go, and it leaves me feeling the least confident when I see things like that.
And that's why I like a homeowner to be at the inspection or a buyer to be at the inspection, so I can really describe not just why it's vague in the report, but what all the things it could be.
What could it be?
I mean, it could be a lot of things. This could cost you a lot of money. And if you're somebody that has zero budget for any renovations, maybe it's not the house for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
We're not ever allowed to say this is not the house for you, but sometimes that's basically what you have to infer.
Right.
How many times would you say there's like a deal breaker item?
Not often, honestly.
Well, because everything is fixable.
Well, everything's fixable. Now, I will tell you, it has shifted, though. The last couple of years, inspections, people don't even care. They're like, oh, okay, there's no houses. I'm just going to take what I take. But
that will change.
If you go back to like 2019, when I'd give an inspection report that was kind of rough, you would have people that were mad. Because you killed their one sale. They've been on the market for 90 days. It was a sale, and you killed it because the roof's bad. More or less, it's almost always roofs or ACs is with the big, foundation too for crawl space.
Okay, I have one for you. What do you say when the buyer says, or the buyers say it to me? I don't know if they say it to you. Well, did it pass or fail? Like it's like the inspection is a pass or fail.
Yeah, we literally say this is not a pass or fail. This I describe it as we're telling the story of the house.
Oh, that's good.
We tell you the story of the house. This is the what's going on with it. It's not going to be brought up to being new. We're just going to give you the bigger items that you're worried about. And I detail probably more of the smaller items than some inspectors do, just because I don't like follow-up calls from, hey, how did you not mention this little tiny drywall crack or whatever? And I mention them, and then I just say it's a typical crack just so they know it's fine and you can move on from there.
Mm-hmm. One of my favorite things, because I feel like inspectors and agents, like between even us two, I have this huge passion for bringing respect and professionalism back to realtors.
Right.
And you feel the same thing. Like sometimes inspectors have a bad rap, and you are like dedicated to saying like, hey, but I'm educated and these are the things that I do. But also kind of in the same way, you have said before that you don't want to be everybody's home inspector.
Right. And that's the joy of having a lot of business.
Right.
Is I can decide who I work with. When y'all are on the agent side, you don't get to decide who's going to make an offer on the house, whose listing you're going to see. So sometimes you're stuck working with the guy that everybody hates, and you know you hate him before you even submit the offer, and you're like, oh, I wish I could tell these clients I don't have to do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to be everybody's inspector. I want people that basically the agent and I get along well. They understand I'm going to report the condition of the house no matter what it is. I'm not going to soften anything. It's going to be what it is. You know, I want that relationship where they just trust what I say. I mean, they can verify and move on, and I'll tell them when they need to as well. But that's very important to me to have that. And that comes from my old job of being treated so poorly. I hated it so much that I wanted a place where I felt comfortable, felt appreciated, and all those things. So once I found my people that I like working with, it just made my whole life better. Like, the whole life better. And I appreciate them, they appreciate me, and it's been just a magic.
How do you not work with an agent? Do you just say, "Oh, I'm all full"?
Yeah, yeah. And now, anybody listening, I don't do that to a lot of people. There's a few because sometimes I really am all full.
Yeah. If you're told you're full, it's not that
I
he's
really do get
ignoring
all
you.
full.
Yeah.
But there are some that I absolutely just will tell them much further out than I am, just because I don't want to work with them.
Yeah.
They're either not good for their
you out,
clients.
Yeah.
They wear me out with problems. There's always issues, or there's some that just don't have their client's best interest at heart, and I'm not going to work with you if I find out that's the way you are.
Right. No, that's fair.
You know, sometimes I can't help it. The client calls me direct and schedules, and I'm like, oh.
And then they show up and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I
you.
ask them who they're working with, but
you're like,
I've usually already told them my opening at that point, and maybe I need to learn how to be better on the phone.
Or even if like you're trying to tell them, hey, this is an issue, and then the agent steps in and is like, oh yeah, but it's really not that big of an issue. We can, and you're like, well, I
have
need
one
you to
particular
know.
one that was on the listing side of one that I did, and she was there the entire time and stepped in on every single
and
thing,
like tried to explain it away.
And it drove me insane. And she's called me several times for an inspection, and I just will not.
Like, no, thank you.
I'm not going to do it, because if you're trying to do that on the listing side, how bad are you going to be on the buyer side?
Right, but so I don't go to my listing side inspections.
You know,
is that common?
It's very common in New Orleans that the listing agent comes. I don't know why, but it's every once in a while here, especially on higher end homes. The listing agents will come a lot of times, but it's not common by any means.
Interesting.
All right. Me and Whit just had one where the seller was very micromanaging of everything and wanted to be present for the home inspection. And I said, I said, my clients want to really look and be able to speak freely, and they don't want to offend your seller because they were going to be doing a lot of changes to the property. And he was just so mad that I wouldn't let him come, but I really put my foot down. Well, then we needed a key to the attic.
And he showed up.
And he like wouldn't tell us where it was, and said, this is why I should have been there.
Oh gosh.
And so he directed us to a bowl.
There were 70 keys. Literally 70 keys.
He did it on purpose.
And this was the kind of attic that the lock was on the ceiling. So you had to be on a ladder on your tiptoes with your hand in the air trying to figure out.
It was like
and
a
I was
Fear
committed.
Factor episode.
I was so mad. I was like, we're going to find this key. And we did. But they just get difficult sometimes.
Yeah. We had one yesterday where the seller was home, and he sat in the living room watching true crime TV with no shirt on.
Oh
yeah.
My gosh.
It was interesting.
Great.
Is it ever helpful for the seller to be there?
Almost never.
Never.
I mean, I like them to be accessible for a question. Usually it's a locked thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Again, another different one yesterday. The electric panel had a lock on it.
Yeah.
And we had to get with them, get the key. Ended up buying bolt cutters instead because I didn't have my truck. So.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, it's problem solving.
Okay. So you kind of talked about how it's pretty easy to become an inspector, sort of like becoming an agent.
Yeah.
So how should an agent find a good inspector? Like, what are ways to figure out if this inspector is good?
So the important thing to do is almost look at it as a client should look at it as a buyer. So you need to look at their online presence, their reviews, like what your client's going to see. When you send that name out, they're going to Google your name, and they're going to see everything there is out there. So you need to know what they're going to see.
Yeah.
You need to know if they have a website. Do they have sample reports out there? What is it that they have that people can see? because then you can refer them to that and they can review it.
Yeah.
I've embraced Google reviews since the very beginning and really driven
They're
that.
so good.
Oh yeah.
There is no better place to have a review.
Yeah, I passed over 500 recently. So
That's amazing.
That's a lot.
So I really push that hard because I want people to see what people are saying.
Yeah.
But so they need to do that. Obviously, they can ask their fellow agents that they work with in the office. But I think they need to dig deeper than, hey, who's your inspector?
Right.
It needs to be more like, have you used other inspectors?
Right.
Why do you like this guy? What's
Yeah.
what's the purpose? Because if you've got one of these, I've been in real estate 25 years and I know more than you.
Right.
Sorry, I missed 16 years.
Yeah.
But you know, sometimes they that's the first thing they throw out. And I've been using this guy for 25 years.
Yeah.
Well, that guy probably hasn't evolved much.
Right.
And he's probably given the same old
Right.
crappy report that he was given 25 years ago. Not saying they can't change, but most
Yeah.
of the time that's how it goes. So you got to dig into why they're referring them, find out who meshes with you. And I had a lot of people reach out to me over the years and they're like, hey, do you want to meet and grab coffee?
Yeah.
And we had coffee together or lunch or whatever and really delved into how we represent our clients, each other.
Yeah.
And sometimes that was great and sometimes it was not.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes
that's okay.
it was like eye-opening. Like,
Yeah.
we may not be the best fit.
We may not be. I mean, for me,
Yeah.
I met a lot of agents through office presentations. I did this great, we called it removing the headache from the real estate transaction. It was a
Okay.
title company, lender, insurance, and me. And we'd go into a brokerage and kind of go through what you should get out of your affiliates. Because you guys have a lot of things to manage at one time. And if you really exercise what you can get out of somebody, it's great.
Yeah.
Because if you have a regular relationship with an inspector, they can help you with your listing. When you get your inspection report back and you don't know what the heck they were talking about, they can help you on showings where you send a picture. Hey, this little slab cracks here. We're worried about it. Do you think it, obviously it's not a
Oh, so
full
you
opinion.
welcome that? Like a quick photo?
Absolutely.
Hey, Whit, what's this?
That's how you build relationships.
I love it.
If you add value to them, then
Yeah.
that's a relationship builder. They understand it's not like a full
Right.
evaluation. But you can really rule out some stuff really quick. Let's not make an offer on a house that's going to be a no.
Yeah.
I encourage agents all the time to learn how to read AC ages, learn about roofs. You got to learn the difference between an architectural shingle and a 3-tab. And then what's the lifespan of those?
Yes.
Especially in our state right now, you can't even get insurance on an older roof right now. So
Oh, yeah.
if you don't know those things, you're going to waste everybody's time. Put in an offer, they pay for an
And
inspection.
money. They pay for the
absolutely.
inspection.
And I'm not trying to get extra inspections on people. I like
Right.
them to go through and we're great, especially if it's an obvious thing that we could all know from the beginning.
Yeah. That makes sense.
I've definitely learned a lot just from
Oh, yeah.
being at the One of the things you taught me was there was a roof that I thought looked good. There wasn't like dark colored streaking or like moss or anything growing
Right.
on it. But you were like, do you see how it's like kind of looks like glitter?
Yeah.
Like how it's shiny.
Oh.
And I was like, when the light catches it, I was like, yeah, I see all these like little specks.
Right.
And he was like, the granules are like totally
Gone.
gone.
Yeah, you can see the fiberglass mat underneath.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so now I have noticed it
You're like,
before.
oh, shiny roof. No,
Yeah.
no.
At other homes where the shingle looked clean, but you could actually see the shimmer.
Right.
Interesting.
And I always highly recommend before you list a house to have a roofer come out. Get your
Yeah.
roofer out. If you know it's older, get him he can write you a letter if you want on how many years he thinks is left on the roof, things like
Yeah.
and that really helps you when you're listing. You're like, hey, look, we already had, get a reputable roofing company
Right.
that most people know and say, we already had them look at it. Here's what they said. They think it has 7 years left on it. So
Yeah.
when the inspector says, hey, have this roof evaluated, you've already done it. It's
Right.
already done and it's
Right.
easy.
Because there are inspectors that say the roof is at the end of the life, even when it's 7 years left.
Right.
I mean,
And
that's a long time.
Correct. So it's all about wording. But if you've gotten that from a roofing company, they're going to supersede us anyway on their opinion.
Okay, so you talked about the importance of your online presence to find the right inspector.
Right.
Tell me about your social media.
I'm passionate about social media.
Whit is good at social media.
Whit is a TikToker.
I do TikTok.
He's a-
Instagram.
I
mean,
mostly started TikTok though just to make videos for my Instagram and Facebook because of the way you can edit
It's
them
easier
together.
to do. Okay.
But I started posting on TikTok and got some. I mean, I have like 7,000 followers.
That's a lot.
It's so funny.
Not for TikTok is not a lot. I mean, TikTok.
Okay, well, I
people
have like
really-
99.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
But I enjoy them. The only thing, TikTok trolls are horrible. The
Oh, yeah.
comments,
Okay.
I've been called ugly and just
Oh, rude.
every stupid word.
People
you
are
can call.
so mean.
Oh,
They
they're
are mean.
Very mean. Yeah.
Okay,
On
well,
TikTok?
But social media, oh yeah, TikTok's very mean. But social media can absolutely define you in
Okay.
your business because so many people want the easy route on social
Right.
media. They want to do, I'm going to hire this company to manage it. And everybody sees them,
Right.
the real
Oh,
estate
yeah.
posts where it's the
It's all
same.
the same.
Hey, use me as your agent. It's a generic
Looking
little
to buy a
graphic.
house?
Yeah,
Right.
it's a generic graphic. Nobody cares.
Right.
If you're not your true, like, authentic self on there, and that's what I hated in the big box world. We started a Facebook page for our store years ago. It blew up. I was doing all this local content. I was having a great time doing it. And then we got shut down. It was
You're like, no.
corporate's like, nah, you got to do this post. And then you watch the engagement just crash.
Interesting.
Like nobody liked anything. Nobody
Right.
looked at it. The
They're
views
like,
were horrible. It was like, oh, we're posting the same sale photo again. So for me to be free and get to say what I want, do what I
Right.
want, it's really been fun. I haven't been as active as I want to be. Just I'm so busy. But I
Right.
do try and post stories every day
Yep.
and keep engaged. But if you can use it to show your true like self, that's how you get people to like you and want to work with you.
And want to work with
Because
you.
they see that's okay, this guy's fun. I want to be with him.
Yeah.
It's more fun. And I try and selfie with, which I'll get a selfie with y'all in a minute.
Oh, great.
But
Super.
I try and selfie with the people I work with today that are in the mood for it. Some people don't want to do that, but
Right.
and that's fine. But social media can really distinguish you from everyone else. It's huge.
Has social media opened up any opportunities for you, like work-wise?
Oh yeah,
For sure.
One, it's gotten me tons of clients.
Yeah.
and not just agents, but just buyers themselves find me through social media, which
Yeah.
has been great. But I do a lot of drone filming now for different companies that I've gotten from posting social media drone
Mm-hmm.
videos.
Like for inspections?
I know for like I've done
Like
some
a marketing or-
triathlons.
Oh, wow.
Marketing stuff for a pipe and steel company, just random stuff like that.
That's
They
cool.
hire me to do basic videography stuff.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's a good change from being in a hot attic every once in a while.
Right. Oh, you're going into the hard season.
Oh, it's already rough.
It's here.
It is rough.
The last
man.
few days have felt like a dryer. It's so wet
Yeah.
outside. Like
Yeah.
the air is thick.
Okay, I have a question about the attics while we're on that. So I think I've heard AC people or like service providers, they now have to have like another person in the attic with them if they're in there a certain amount of time, right?
You should, yeah.
So how do
case
you
you
handle
pass
that? Because
out?
you're all by
We're
yourself.
not working in the attic.
You're
There's
just
a
like in there and
huge
out of
difference
there.
between walking and looking
And-
in an attic
and
and
working.
working.
Okay.
And I've worked in many attics.
Yeah.
And it's hot. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. And when I have a 3,000 plus square foot house with multiple ACs, I usually make a couple trips.
Okay.
I'll come back down and work
Yeah.
in a room and then go back up.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're smart about it, it's hard to
It's-
get heat exhausted when you're not working.
Yeah.
And just walking.
Okay.
How do you handle safety? Like, do you have situations where
So we have the right to not do anything we don't want to do. So basically, if we feel like an attic is not safe to walk through, a crawl space has sewage in it, whatever it is, we could just say, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And disclaim it because it's not a safe environment. It can be repaired and
Yeah.
inspected later. And you'll see that on reports, especially in a crawl space. If you have loose wires hanging down
Yeah, you're like, mm-mm.
or water in it, we're not going in it.
that's so scary?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Do you want to hear the most dangerous inspection I ever went on?
What's that?
Very early in my career, in a very suspect older house. The inspector was there. I was there. It was my listing, so I don't know if I had to unlock it or what the reason was that I was there. But I walked in early, or maybe I had the buyer too. I have no idea. It's really that long ago. I walk in, I flip a light switch, the light bulb pops. Like, okay, I'm like, that's weird. I guess it's go to the next light switch, flip the light switch, the light bulb pops. I get to the third one, I flip this. I'm like, something is not right here. Like that doesn't. So I walk out. The inspector has now arrived. Had a garage. The hot water heater was in the garage. It had like burst. There was water all in the garage, and there was some loose wire. Basically, the whole house was like electrified, right? Like there was water, there was wires.
Yeah, it's time to be out.
I was just like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
That's so scary.
so scary.
Yeah, I've only been shocked twice.
Oh,
but
only twice.
I've been shocked a lot more than that, but only twice on inspections.
On
What
inspections.
about snakes under houses?
I don't see as many as you would think. I've seen a
Okay.
couple,
Okay.
but I don't know why I don't see them in crawl spaces very often.
In my brain, that's where snakes live.
I've
Okay,
seen
well,
one
tell
in
us-
an attic.
Oh.
So
What's the scariest animal encounter you've had?
I had a possum in an attic, that was like a big one.
Yeah,
and
they're
I wasn't
pretty
ready
angry.
for him when he
Wasn't
started
ready.
walking. Well, I had one of my early inspections I had with the agent, and she's Hispanic and speaks a lot of Spanish, and she tells people I speak Spanish, even though my Spanish is
That's
Oh,
hilarious.
that's
horrible.
funny.
But she tells her clients all the time, he speaks Spanish, he's good.
So you have to try and like.
Oh, it's awful. It's just,
Do you speak Spanish?
I took like 12 hours in college.
Oh, right,
and
that's
then
not speaking
My
Spanish.
son's from Guatemala,
Oh,
so
okay, all right.
I've been to Guatemala a bunch and
Okay,
all
so
that.
you might-
So I've spoke
You've been
Spanish a few
immersed.
times, but it's muy malo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So very bad. So anyway, it's one of these attics where it's the door. So I open the door, and this just massive rat comes running out, and I had to punt him back into the attic. As she's and here she goes off with all plenty
With her-
with the Spanish, and I just was dying laughing. And
Just kicked a rat.
because I kicked a rat, right back in the attic. So she wasn't ready for that, and I wasn't either. But it was that's probably the scariest encounter. But the possum got me pretty good.
Rodents are the worst.
Snakes will get me if I don't see them until I'm close.
Yeah.
As long as I see them from distance, it's
That's
fine.
fine.
And that's why I look all in the crawl space first before I go in.
Okay. Anything else,
Sorry
Alyssa?
I think we're
in
good.
that
No,
on
that
a
was
rat.
interesting.
Yeah.
So interesting.
You want to do our toast?
No, I'm not. Whit's gonna toast somebody,
Oh, I'm
right?
gonna toast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we ready? Do we have
I
any
think
other final things you wanted to say?
Parting words, Whit Green, home
No,
inspector.
I just think that everybody should really work closely with their home inspector to make the industry better in general. Don't underrepresent your client. Do the best you can for them with the report. Make sure you read it yourself and
Yeah.
don't just skim over it, and help them get the best house they can get.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
I think that's good. What would you tell a buyer who is considering not getting a home inspection?
Just absolutely not. I mean,
no.
there's very few houses that I've inspected where I could say, okay, you could have skipped this and been fine. But
Yeah.
it does happen. But
Yeah.
it's just no.
I used to have an old home inspector I used back in the day who said, if I don't find anything, the inspection is free.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But
It never happens.
it's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, even one of our worst inspections with Whit was a new construction, custom built $500,000 home.
Yeah.
And the punch list was
I had to come back out and do it again.
Yeah.
we had to have a
Yeah.
second. It was so long
Right.
that there's no way we would have been able to know if all this was done before closing without having him come back and check.
Yeah.
But
I mean, new construction is the one when people skip the most
Oh,
that
yeah.
they shouldn't.
I mean, we had a long list on the last new construction
Yeah,
we did for you. Yeah,
there's always a list.
Right.
There's always a long list because
Absolutely.
no one's even used the house yet.
correct.
So we don't know if the outlet works or the
And
lights.
people
I mean,
forget that the builder's not there most of the time. I mean, he
No.
has all these subs come in, and nobody goes and checks it for the most part.
No, and why do I feel like electrical work is a mystery to even electricians? I'm like, do you know what's happened? No clue.
Well, they let the apprentices do a lot of the work in the
I
house.
guess so. Okay, give us a toast, Whit.
All right, I was going to toast to all the realtor moms because
Ooh.
I really respect watching y'all have to drag your kids to inspections, drag them to showings. I've got a couple new ones that have new babies that I love seeing. I try and take pictures with the babies of the day, when
I
they
love a
bring
baby
them.
of the day.
So that's really who I toast to is just that working while you're carrying your baby around and doing it especially in 95-degree heat.
Yeah.
It's
we'll
brutal.
have to use the picture of us with Tate when he was like 3 weeks old.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
For
Do
the
that.
toast.
Yes.
When he would still fit in a regular picture.
Yeah, now he
can't even
too big.
Right. This is a giant
That
human.
escalated quickly.
It really escalated quickly.
One time he was small.
Yeah.
Back in the day
That was
for
the
a
last
short
time, I think.
period.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, cheers to the moms. You're right. That's
The working moms bringing the kids to
To the
inspections
inspection.
when we have to.
do what you got to do.
I know.
Okay, goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to the Hustle Humbly podcast. Let us know who we should toast to for the next episode.
Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hustle Humbly Podcast. If you have an episode, topic, or question, please email us at hustlehumblypodcast@gmail.com.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. See you next week. Bye.
This is the good life.